What's up, Wolfpack? Cole Gregg here, and today we're going to be giving you the rundown on the Cascade Link for the 2020 and 2021 Norco site. This is a product I've been super excited to get on my bike, and I've been following the company since the first release of their high tower, or their long travel high tower link. It's something that I can see benefiting me and my riding style. We're going to give you the ins and outs on who this is for and who this might not be for. For the 2020 and 2021 Norco site, this link brings the rear travel from 150 millimeters to just over 155 millimeters. It's a really cool addition to an already great bike. It adds quite a bit of. This link brings a 7% increase in progression through the mid-stroke and end support. This was especially noticeable to me on that end of stroke ramp up, where I've struggled to find the balance of air pressure and volume reducers to get the feel I want from the bike and the terrain that I ride. So Cascade Links claims this is a coil-friendly link. It's not necessarily a coil compatible. It's not designed to specifically work with coils on the site, but it will aid in that end of stroke ramp up. For someone like myself, I tend to go a little bit gas to flat. I love big drops and bigger jumps. And so having a little bit extra progression at the end of the stroke will allow me to use a coil for my bike that will both give me the compliance in the small bump and the support at the end of the stroke. One of the things I've struggled with the coil on my site is that I'm having to run about 100 pounds heavier spring than I should for my weight based on keeping that bike from bottoming out. And with that, I do lose quite a bit of that small bump sensitivity that coils are very much known for. With that said, the link will actually still require you to run a heavier spring or more air pressure in the shock by about 5%. So essentially what this is going to do is it softens up that initial point in the travel, but it gives you more progression through that mid stroke and the end stroke. One of the things I immediately noticed when getting on this bike with the link is the whole curve of the travel just felt smoother. It was kind of hard to pinpoint at first, and the more time I got on the link, which we'll get into later, really opened my eyes to what this bike can be capable of over stock. Already a great bike, but for me and what I'm looking for, the Cascade Link really opened my eyes to exactly how I wanted that bike to perform under certain situations. So the Cascade Link is made of 6061 T6 aluminum and comes in at 530 grams. This link specifically is a pre-production model, so there is a little bit more material here and does weigh significantly more than that 530 grams. But the production link is slightly heavier than that stock link, but for the bang for weight or bang for gram, I think it's a really good upgrade for someone looking to get a little more progressivity out of the site. So as I mentioned before, Cascade calls for about a 5% increase in air pressure for your shock to retain the same ride quality. I originally started with 205 PSI in the main can and 185 in the small can on my Topaz. For our first ride, I did bump it up that 5%. I think it ended up being, was it 215 or 217, and I kept that air pressure in the small can the same. Throughout my riding, I ended up going up to about 223 PSI for my normal rides and down to 175 in that small can. What that small can does is really affects the entire stroke of the shock. So having 185 PSI in there was giving me a little bit more feedback than I wanted with that air pressure increase. So dropping it down to 175, which is a pretty significant bump, netted me a lot better small bump sensitivity and just more compliance through the entire stroke. That 223 PSI in the main can seemed just about right. I still am experimenting depending on the terrain. More flat style terrain like Duthie where I'm doing a lot of jumps, I always tend to go up in air pressure. So when I'm speaking to this, it's kind of my set it and forget it settings. That 223 is pretty spot on. Now I haven't experimented with changing the bands in the Topaz. It's something that I'd like to do with more time on this link. But for now I have 2 in the positive and 0 in the negative, and it's been pretty flawless so far. All right, so let's jump out to Duthie Hill and get to the install with Jimmy of Cascade Links. So got all the hero shots of the bike. I'm gonna go ahead and head out to the trails, give the air pressure a test, hit some jumps, and see how this thing performs. We'll see you on the trail. Rehab. Oh, so leafy. And hang right here. This is the slippery corner. Oh God. Flying squirrel. Gonna do some flying. Make sure my dropper's down. What's up? We just made a change of scenery out to Tokol. Gonna give the Link some more tests on actual trails. Duthie it's a great place to kind of get an idea for how it feels, but as far as going through anything rough, I mean, that place it's essentially a dirt skate park. So jumps are great. Definitely noticing more of a bottomless feel, slightly more mid-stroke support, I guess. I'm gonna need more time to really dive into it. What else? Yeah, bottomless feels good. I'm running significantly more pressure, so actually about 5.5–6% more than I'm used to running, and it hasn't been chattery, so that's been a huge plus. I'm definitely keen to see how it feels on Goose Chase. It's a bit longer trail. There's some G-outs, some roots, some off cambers, so a really good mix overall for giving this thing a whirl. We are running about 30% sag. I need to measure when I get back to actually get an exact idea. 220 PSI in the main can, 175 in the small can, which will make it feel a little more supple. I'm usually running 180 there just to get a little bit more support throughout the entirety of the stroke, but so far I haven't found that to be an issue. That log will get you. Tire pressure is a little high for how soft it is. Woo. Oh yeah. Woohoo! Oh yeah, bottomless actually. Oh, leaves. Yeah, I like it. Oh man, this thing is chopped out. Conditions are fabulous. Almost lost it. Whoa, that's nice. Whew. Heck yeah. That like chute was so whooped out. It's a pretty solid trail. That last section is beautiful right now.
Those turns are so much better than they used to be.
I was expecting like I have my line through there like over the root and the root was gone. I was like, what do I do?
Oh, like so after the shoot, like when those turns get going, I had like a little bit of hesitation where I was like, okay, this is gonna be blown out.
Yeah.
You get too close, you're gonna just blow off the trail. And then it was just like burns.
Well, I bottomed off that stump drop, that's for sure. At least close to it.
That thing's, yeah, never smooth.
I usually go around it, but I wanted to test it. I did notice on the step down, I felt the end, but it wasn't hard. Ouch, son of. Oh, hot brake rotor. No. Oh, man, it's been a while since I've done that. I feel like I can run a little bit more pressure.
Yeah?
Yeah. I think I could go up another 3 at least.
How'd it feel over like roots and stuff?
Great. Great. I feel like maybe I'll keep the same pressure and I'll add a negative reducer. Well, because I feel like I'm sitting into the travel a little bit more, but even though it has more support, and it's also a fresh shock, so that might have something to do with it.
It feels like it's sitting further into the travel. My first thought would be pressure.
Pressure?
Yeah.
Because I haven't run a negative reducer on this, because I've been having to run so much pressure to keep it from bottoming.
I would think more pressure, because if you put the negative in, you're still going to end up increasing the pressure too, and it'll get even more rampy.
I like the end ramp, and if I'm only bottoming once and that's like about as G'd out, like step down flat as you get. Back. Big thanks to Jimmy for taking the time out of his day to come have a shred with me. It was super fun to take him out to Duthie Hill, somewhere he hasn't been in a really long time. And it's somewhere that I frequent often, you know, you can't beat jumps that close to home. So what's the final verdict on the link? Well, I believe what Cascade claims is what they deliver. So having now spent over a month on this link, actually 6 weeks now, I've experimented through the different air pressures, going from my stock settings at that 205 PSI all the way up to 235 PSI for some bigger jump lines. I've really come to settle at that 223, just over what I had done on that first ride. I haven't adjusted the bladder in that DVO Topaz. It's still at 175 and working flawlessly. So what does this link accomplish? It gives you more end stroke ramp up, a lot more mid-stroke support, and actually smooths out that small bump. So even with that increase in air pressure, I really found that small bump compliance shot through the roof. So through braking bumps, wet roots, all that kind of fun stuff we have here in the Pacific Northwest, it was an awesome addition to my bike. And it will be traveling with me, or it will be moving on with me to my new site that I'll be getting here in a few weeks. So who's this link for? Well, I believe first of all, it's for someone that's not afraid to navigate changing air pressures, volume reducers, and experimenting with that. So if you're not comfortable with that off the bat, I would say stick with your stock link and kind of work with Norco's Ride Align system to figure out the correct settings for your style and your experience. Who is this for? This is for someone that loves to tinker with their shock, that likes to hit big drops, big jumps, and they need that end of ramp support. And I believe it could also benefit maybe someone in the range of 195 pounds plus to get that extra support without losing that small bump compliance. Overall, I'm really excited to continue using this, and I will report back as soon as I get a coil on my bike. Hopefully should be here in a few weeks if DVO gets some inventory. With that said, thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't yet subscribed, please do so today. Join the Wolfpack, and we'll see you out on the trails.
And then also feeling good on roots is the trick.
All right, now that I don't feel like I'm gonna pass out.
Is this just like little poppers?
There's just like 2 rollers here. There's only 1 jump into a corner. The rest is just corners.
Okay.
So the trails are gonna split and we're gonna go right.
Okay. I don't know any of this.
Yeah, just stay on my tail. There's one, the first hard left is kind of slippery after you get through this section. This section you can basically just slam into these corners as hard as you want. Yeah, sweet. Rehab. Oh, so leafy. And hang right here. This is the slippery corner. Oh God. All right. What do you think? That one corner is slippery, huh?
Yeah, caught me off guard.
The jump into the corner?
The corner is just the slippery.
Yeah, the slippery one.
No, the jumps are fine. The slick is weird. But like the combination of like, it's pretty grippy. Where there aren't
until it's not.
Until it's not, and then it's really not.
Yeah. And that one corner after the chicane is notoriously always slippery too. You want to do another warm-up trail or hit some jumps?
Some jumps.
Cool.